It's finally time to start talking about character builds, and what better way to start than my main man, Tan-2. So let's get down and dirty and start talking about the best way to build your Tan-2. Let's start from the basics. Welcome to Tan-2. For those who don't know how he works, here's a quick rundown. Tan-2 is able to switch between two modes using his second signature ability, Twilight Shift. He has a damage focused mode and a healing focused mode. His passive ability allows him to gain two different kinds of flare depending on what mode he is currently in, and when these bars are full, casting the corresponding ability will increase its potency as well as give you the phosphorus buff, which gives you health per second and a movement speed buff. So let's talk a little bit about his Relic. Tan-2's first ability can be swapped between Sunset and Sunrise. His healing ability, Sunrise, allows him to shoot a healing orb forward, and when it hits an object or ally, it will spawn a healing circle of a 4-meter radius, instantly healing them, and then healing them over time every second for 4 seconds, while also reducing the flinching of their weapons. And when this is cast with max flare, the radius increases to 6 meters and the time is extended to 8 seconds. His damage ability, Sunset, is his real bread and butter. This allows him to shoot a fireball up to 50 meters forward, which explodes when it hits an obstacle or enemy, dealing a ton of damage to anything within 5 meters of the explosion. Anything hit is then inflicted with Corrupt, which from my damage calculations is about a 22% damage buff, and prevents the enemy from healing. They also gain Sunset Scorch, which is a damage over time effect for 5 seconds. Tan's super though is what really makes him stand out as an S tier character. Blessing of Dusk and Blessing of Dawn, or for those of us Destiny 2 players, Well of Radiance. In its Dawn form, heals all allies within the well for 15 seconds, making your party much harder to kill while dealing damage to bosses, while its Dusk form gives a 40% damage buff to everyone standing inside the well. This is a massive buff and is why you will often see at least 2 Tans in higher tier raid content due to wanting one of each well during boss damage phase. Just like everyone else, Tan also has 3 relic traits. His first trait makes it so you can constantly extend your damage over time effect, Sunset Scorch, each time you shoot an enemy affected by it with your scout or sniper rifle. Trait 2 allows you to swap your well on command after spawning it between its 2 forms. And Trait 3 increases the amount of flare you get from precision hits by 2 for scout rifles and 10 for sniper rifles. Lastly, we have Tan's Weapon Mastery, and like many other Guardians, his level 1, 2, 3, and 5 masteries are all pretty similar. At Mastery level 1, Tan-2 will deal an additional hit of solar damage equal to 20% of his weapon damage while in the Phosphorus state, which is increased to 28% at level 2, 38% at level 3, and at max weapon mastery up to 50%. Level 4 of his weapon mastery is one of Tan's most important traits though. Once you unlock this, any precision hit with a scout or sniper will extend the duration of Phosphorus by 2 or 3 seconds respectively. This is a huge buff, allowing you to keep a consistent 50% damage buff active at all times. So what does all this mean? Well, it means that if you max out your damage flare, drop a Well of Radiance, throw your Sunset to proc Corruption, this is your outcome. Yeah, that's a lot of damage, and it's even more if you have Izignagi's Burden instead of Borealis. This is just a quick message saying, hey, did you know that only 8.2% of you guys watching are subscribed to the channel? Why is that? Why don't you go ahead and click that subscribe button if you're enjoying what you're watching. I got more character builds coming, and guides, and just fun videos. So hit that subscribe button, and I thank you for watching. So let's get more into the nitty-gritty of the build. For your weapons, after a bunch of testing with different perks and builds, I've come to find that I believe to be the best roll-in weapon to be the Del 3 Lassie with the bear approaches and syncopation. This is due to Bear Approach's insane 42% rate of fire increase alongside its faster reload time, matched with the crazy damage buff of Syncopation, giving 312% damage on every 4th round, for about a 78% damage buff if you spread that across the 4 rounds. For your mods, you will obviously want a full kit of exotic mods, but more specifically, for your scope, you'll want mid or long range damage and increased range, along with the Culture Clash perk upgrade. Your magazine will have Mag Up to allow you to take advantage of its increased rate of fire for longer, and then Recoil to help a bit with hitting crits with the increased recoil during your faster rate of fire. And then the perk upgrade for Bear Approaches, giving you ammo back for each 3 precision hits landed. Your last mod slot will need base/elite damage so you can rip through red and orange bar enemies faster, since you'll most likely be using your sniper on any yellow bar enemies, and a minimum damage increase. Sadly though, the perk upgrades for this mod, I don't see Syncopation as an option, so if that's just a visual bug and you get one, you will want that as the perk upgrade on this mod. For your sniper of choice, you will want an Izignagi's Burden, but if you're like me and can't get one, a Borealis will do just fine. I have heard people stating that they've been doing great damage with a 40,000 side reel year with Searing Mark and Triclodur, but I don't have a roll with those 2 perks, but for my tests on Searing Mark alone, I'm not sold on it quite yet. For your light-linked companions, you'll want to have Wolf and Estella for the bonus solar damage. Just make sure your Borealis is on solar before you start your damage phase. Some other options to consider though is Gwyn. This will give your Scout and Void Borealis both a damage increase as long as you're using your signature abilities, which can be pretty much non-stop, as well as a Yolder if you want to be a bit more tanky, giving you up to a 25% health increase. Now on to the hardest part of this to put together. I've done a bunch of testing and trial and error, and this is the set of artifact perks and attributes I have finally come to decide on for my Tan-2 build. In our first slot, we have Abundant Planetesimal, which is a no-brainer. This will make it so that anytime you cast a signature ability, you will start restoring at its max 2.5 health every second for 5 seconds, and this stacks 3 times, bringing that to 7.5% health. The reason this is so strong is that Tan-2's second signature ability, Twilight Shift, has a very low cooldown of 3 seconds, and even lower at 1 second if you can get his talent tree to C5. So you can constantly be spamming this and have an infinite supply of 7.5% health regen at all times. For his second artifact slot, I'm running Ring of Conversion. This makes it so when your health is full, you can cast your healing ability on yourself, and you'll start to gain Overshield on top of everything else to make you even more tanky. There are a few more options here that you can choose from, like Unrelenting Token to give you 37% damage reduction when aiming down sights with your sniper, or Ring of Safeguarding to give you an Overshield if your health drops too low. But I'm really enjoying the Overshield given by Ring of Conversion. On these first 2 relics, the attributes you will be looking to roll with are Healing Bonus, Ranged Damage Resistance, Health Boost, and Defense Boost. If you can get slot 1 and slot 2 artifacts to roll with these, you're looking at a 55% increase to your healing, 24.2% resistance to long range damage, 49.5% max health increase, a negative 11.55% damage taken when you don't have a shield, and a 19.8% damage resistance buff. Your third artifact slot is another pretty easy one. We're taking Calming Token, which will give you at tier 5 plus 10 accuracy, but more importantly, plus 46% precision damage just for standing still, which is much higher than any other buff in this slot for weapon damage. Our fourth was a hard one for me, and I'm still split on this decision, but for the moment, I'm going with Hawkeye Token, which gives you up to 48% damage buff if you are more than 20 meters away. And to give you a better idea, 20 meters starts here, and it seems like the buff caps off at about this range. So at this damage and further, you're at the max 48% buff. The other relic I'm contemplating using instead is Bellicose Planetesimal, which gives a 30% damage buff, but only requires you to cast signature abilities. so it's a consistent 30% at all ranges if you're casting signature abilities, compared to the other's 48% buff after passing about 30 meters. Now for the attributes. If you want to roll on artifacts 3 and 4, you'll be looking for weapon enhancement, signature boost, damage bonus, and ability strength. Void and solar boost are also acceptable attributes to help boost your weapon damage depending on the weapon element you're running, but I would highly advise going for the first 4 I mentioned. Weapon enhancement is probably the best attribute in the game at the moment and should be run on pretty much every character, giving you a straight 38.5% damage bonus to your primaries and a 22.07% damage bonus to power weapons. Never mind the added 9.44% damage bonus for its tier 10 effect bonus. Signature bonus will make your sunset deal 71.5% more damage and your sunrise healing 11.28% more effective, with the added tier effect of a 13.97% damage buff to sunset if you use it within 6 seconds of using Twilight Shift. Damage bonus boost is one people may overlook, but this makes it so anyone standing in your well will get a 33% damage buff. And in a raid with 6 people, that's 6 people doing 33% more damage if they're all in your well, which is insane. And the last attribute, ability strength, increases all relic ability damage by 66% and their healing effect by 11.25%. while also giving you a 10.5% weapon damage boost for 10 seconds after casting any signature ability. The last thing to talk about is Tan's talent tree. I'm going to run over this pretty quickly since not everyone will be getting multiple pulls of Tan, but for C1, you get a 10% damage buff in your damage mode and a 15% damage resistance while you're in your healing mode. C2 adds an explosion to your next shot after using an enhanced sunset. C3 makes your abilities recharge 50% faster. C4 increases the damage of Sunset and Sunset Scorch by 25 and 100% respectively. C5 allows you to use Twilight Shift every second instead of every 3 seconds. And C6 makes it so when you fill your flare energy, the corresponding signature ability will immediately recharge. It's a little rough on Tan for sure, since I would say his best talent tree nodes are at C5 and C6, so if you love him, make sure you're trying to reach the top of his tree. So to sum it all up, Tan-2 is an amazing support character who can buff the damage of your whole party by insane amounts and can buff himself as well. Remember to fill your flare gauges and cast Enhanced Sunset on an enemy before starting to lay into him for max damage. Plus, it's very handy to abuse his 3-second or even 1-second at C5 signature ability to constantly proc artifacts that buff you on signature ability use. I really hope this helped you build the best Tan-2 character you possibly can. And I'm not lying when I believe that Tan-2 is one of, if not the best character in the game at the moment. Take it from any Destiny 2 player that Bungie has spent years since Forsaken trying to rein in the Well of Radiance super, and it has not gone well for them. So, thank you again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and I hope you all have a supernova day.